You've lived there your whole life, a space once filled with laughter, endless conversations, warm family dinners, and eyes that once looked at you with nothing but love. But over time, the silence has grown louder. Familiar voices call out less and less. Hugs grow shorter, more fleeting. And sometimes when you glance at your phone, you begin to realize you're waiting for something that no one sends anymore. Did you once believe that growing old meant always being surrounded by family? That the children you raised would always be there when you needed them? That old bonds could withstand the winds of time? Stoicism, the philosophy of the resilient, does not teach us to resent life when it unfolds differently than we hoped. It simply places a quiet hand on your shoulder and says, don't seek stability in places that no longer belong to you. Build your own foundation. Because at some point, after 60, you will come to understand no one is a stronger pillar than yourself. Not your children, not your relatives, not even the memories that once lit up your world, but rather what you've quietly built within. We cannot change others, but we can change how we prepare. That's when you need the 6 essential pillars, the ones every person over midlife must begin to strengthen. Not to replace love, but to anchor yourself when the winds of life blow hardest. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The very things that seem to hold you back, distance, aging, change, are actually the invitations to rebuild your life stronger, lighter, and freer than ever before. This video isn't about giving up on others. It's about turning inward to build a shelter of your own. One rooted in dignity, independence, and peace. A life no longer dependent, no longer waiting. You've lived for others long enough. Now it's time to live for yourself with just as much love and even more self-respect. Let us begin the journey of rebuilding the 6 pillars of freedom through the lens of Stoic wisdom. In what may seem like the final chapters of life, but could, in truth, be the beginning of your most beautiful self. Pillar 1. Financial stability. Money can't buy happiness, we've all heard that. But here's something Stoicism would agree with. Money can buy freedom from unnecessary suffering. It buys independence. It buys the ability to say no to what no longer serves your peace of mind. When you reach your 60s and beyond, financial stability becomes more than just a retirement goal. It becomes one of your most reliable pillars of dignity. Why? Because relying on anyone else for your basic needs, especially your children, places you in a position of quiet desperation. Let's be honest, your children may love you, they may even want to help, but they are fighting their own battles. Mortgages, healthcare costs, raising kids, navigating careers. Counting on their support in hard times isn't just risky, it's a hidden setup for disappointment. The Stoics taught us to prepare not for a world that should be, but for the world as it is. As Epictetus said, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And what better reaction than building a fortress of financial preparedness, so that regardless of who steps in or steps away, you are never at the mercy of anyone's generosity. Richard, a 72-year-old retired teacher, learned this the hard way. He assumed his years of sacrifice for his family would be repaid in times of need. When an unexpected medical bill wiped out his savings, he reached out to his adult children. But one was paying college tuition, another was facing job insecurity, and both were emotionally overwhelmed. The help he expected never came. It wasn't malice, it was reality. That moment became Richard's turning point. He sold his oversized home, moved into a modest apartment, created a frugal budget, and started part-time tutoring. Within a year, not only had he regained financial control, but he also rediscovered a sense of empowerment he hadn't felt in decades. Financial independence is not about being rich. It's about removing dependency from your equation. It's waking up each day knowing that you can make decisions based on your values, not on someone else's wallet. It's having the capacity to deal with emergencies without panicking or waiting for a lifeline. So, what can you do right now? Review your expenses. Cut what doesn't serve you. Simplify. Avoid debt. If it doesn't bring peace or growth, it's not worth it. Create multiple income streams. Even small ones matter, from part-time work, hobbies, rental, or pensions. Prepare for emergencies. An emergency fund is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Seneca once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." Let that guide your financial philosophy, because the less you need from others, the more you own your choices. Remember, financial stability isn't about becoming selfish. It's about becoming self-sufficient. It allows you to give from abundance, not from guilt or expectation. It allows you to be generous on your own terms, not because you're afraid of being a burden, but because you're choosing freedom. And in that choice lies true dignity. Pillar 2. Physical health, the responsibility no one can share. There's something sobering and strangely empowering about realizing this truth. No one else can do this for you. Your children can love you deeply. Your friends can care. Doctors can prescribe, and caregivers can assist. But no one, not your spouse, not your family, not even the most dedicated soul in your life, can eat right for you. No one can lace up your shoes and walk that mile on your behalf. No one can stretch your stiff muscles, drink your water, or sleep those precious hours in your place. Only you can. And that is where the power begins. We live in an age that whispers a dangerous lullaby, that aging is a descent into helplessness, that our best health is behind us, that being older means we must now pass the baton to others. But Stoicism laughs gently at that myth. It reminds us that as long as we have breath, we have power. And as long as we have power, we have responsibility. Seneca once said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." That includes learning how to care for the vessel that carries your soul. Now, maybe you're thinking, "I've never been the healthy type. I don't even know where to begin." That's okay. The path doesn't start with a sprint, it starts with a decision. Not perfection, just progress. Start small, stand more. Walk 5 extra minutes. Choose 1 less processed meal this week. Put your phone down and stretch for 5 minutes. Drink water before your coffee. Go to sleep an hour earlier than usual. No act is too small when it's repeated with purpose. The Stoics believed that we should train our bodies not for vanity, but for utility, for freedom. Because without physical strength and vitality, even the greatest of minds is trapped. A broken body makes a prisoner of the soul, and it's not about chasing youth. It's about protecting agency. It's about climbing stairs without pain, about being able to travel, to garden, to dance, to laugh freely without being winded. It's about reclaiming the simple joys of movement that you didn't even realize you were missing. So ask yourself, not with shame, but with honest courage, what is one small thing you can do today to honor the body that's carried you through 6 decades of storms and triumphs? If your knees ache, strengthen what you can. If your heart is tired, feed it with kindness, not just emotionally, but physically. Choose foods that heal, not harm. Seek sunlight. Breathe deeply. Move gently. Move often. Your health is not a luxury. It is a pillar of your independence, one that, when built wisely, can carry you further than any person ever could. Because in the end, the most reliable support you'll ever have in this life is the body you choose to care for. One thoughtful step at a time. Pillar 3. Social circle. Loneliness is a silent killer. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you laughed, truly laughed, with someone who wasn't your child or grandchild? Not a polite chuckle at a family dinner, not a forced smile on the phone, but a deep, soul-shaking laugh with someone who sees you, not as a parent, not as a burden, not as someone aging, but as a whole human being. You see, after 60, something quietly shifts. The house grows quieter, friends move away, some pass on, the phone rings less, visits become scheduled, brief, and, let's be honest, sometimes out of obligation. And little by little, isolation creeps in like a fog. You may not even notice it at first, but your body does, your mind does, your heart does. Loneliness is not just sadness, it is inflammation of the spirit. Studies now show it can be as deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And yet, so many suffer in silence, telling themselves, "This is just what getting older feels like." But Stoicism whispers back, "No. This is not the life you are meant to resign yourself to." Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire and still wrote in his journals about the value of true companionship, the kind that uplifts, not depletes. He knew that humans, though self-reliant in spirit, are not meant to walk every path alone. Your children may love you dearly, but they have their own journeys now. Their love is not in question, but their availability is. And that's why it's time to build something deeper. Not bigger, just stronger. A community, a neighbor you wave to on morning walks, a book club where your thoughts matter, a friend you can call just to say, "Let's get a coffee." These aren't luxuries, they are lifelines. Friendship after 60 isn't about quantity, it's about shared presence, about laughing at the same silly thing, about looking into someone's eyes and seeing that they're still fighting to stay alive inside, just like you. And if your circle has shrunk, start with one person. Join a local class. Volunteer. Ask an old friend to lunch. Compliment a stranger. Connection begins with courage. Because when the storms of life come, and they will, it won't be a text message that steadies you. It'll be the memory of a conversation, a hand held in silence, a neighbor who noticed you were gone for a few days and came knocking. Friendship is not just emotional comfort, it is spiritual armor. It reminds you that you matter, that you're still part of something bigger than yourself. So don't wait. Don't tell yourself it's too late. You're still here. Your soul is still hungry for connection. And one deep friendship, one real connection, can add more to your life than 100 shallow nods from people who barely see you. This isn't about being liked, it's about being seen and seen as you are. Pillar 4. Sense of purpose. Without purpose, we begin to fade. There's a kind of quiet that settles in after 60. At first, it seems peaceful. The alarm clock no longer dictates your mornings. The kids have grown. The job has ended. The house is finally yours again. No chaos, no clutter. But then slowly that quiet starts to echo. You wake up and wonder, what now? You no longer have deadlines. No one needs their lunch packed. No one is calling from the office. The titles that once defined you, father, mother, worker, provider, have all gently slipped away. And with them, a sense of usefulness, of being needed, of being seen. Stoicism teaches us a crucial truth. Roles are not who we are. They are chapters, not the story. And so here's the invitation. If your old identities are fading, it's time to write a new chapter on purpose. Purpose is not a job. It's not a title. It's a reason to get up in the morning with your chest full and your eyes awake. It can be a passion, a curiosity, a commitment. It doesn't have to be grand. It only has to be yours. George, a retired carpenter at 69, once told me, "I built homes for 40 years. Now I build birdhouses for the kids in my street. It's smaller wood, but somehow it matters more." And that's the heart of it. Purpose can be volunteering once a week, learning watercolor, mentoring someone, growing tomatoes, writing letters to your grandchildren. It's not about success, it's about aliveness. The danger isn't in slowing down. The danger is in stopping altogether. Because when you lose purpose, you start to disappear from others, and worse, from yourself. You stop dressing up, you stop dreaming, you stop seeing days as gifts and start treating them like leftovers. But Stoicism reminds us, you still have breath. And where there is breath, there is choice. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." So ask yourself, what thoughts are coloring your life now? Are they filled with resignation or with new intentions? Every age has its calling. Yours may no longer be to raise children, but to raise hope. Not to build companies, but to build peace. Not to chase time, but to make it matter. You are not done. You're different, and that difference holds power. Let your purpose be your compass. Even if it's small, even if it's quiet, because without it, you're drifting. But with it, you're anchored, and you are needed, not by everyone perhaps, but by something, and maybe, just maybe, by yourself. Most of all, Pillar 5, emotional resilience, the silent strength that saves you. You cannot control who stays, nor who understands your pain, nor who calls to check in on the days you need it most, but you can control what happens next inside of you. After 60, emotional resilience becomes more than just a nice concept, it becomes a lifeline. Friends move away, loved ones pass, the phone rings less. One by one, the people you once leaned on may no longer be there in the same way. And if you've spent a lifetime relying on others to hold your heart together, this season can feel like free fall. That's why Stoicism insists, build your fortress within. Emotional resilience is not about pretending nothing hurts. It's about hurting wisely. It's about having tools ready, not people on speed dial. It's journaling through sadness, breathing through anxiety, taking a walk instead of letting anger rot. It's whispering to yourself, I've been here before, and I will rise again. Imagine your mind as a garden. Every emotion is a visitor, grief, fear, loneliness. You can't stop them from arriving, but you can choose whether they take root. You decide if sadness becomes stillness or surrender. Helen, a 75-year-old widow, once said, "When my husband died, everyone came for a while, and then they stopped. But I didn't. I lit a candle each morning. I wrote him letters. I joined a grief group. I didn't move on. I moved through." That is resilience. It's not denial. It's not indifference. It's not saying, I'm fine when you're breaking inside. It's facing the ache, letting the tears come, but not drowning in them. It's sitting with your sorrow, but still making tea for yourself the next morning. That quiet act, that's power. In the words of Epictetus, it's not things that disturb us, but our judgment about them. People may forget your birthday. Your children might be too busy to call. Life may hand you unwelcome changes. But you, dear soul, are not helpless. You are not defined by what happens to you, but by how you respond. So create your rituals. Anchor your emotions in practices you can trust. A daily gratitude list, meditation, walking in silence with the trees, talking aloud to yourself with gentleness, setting boundaries without guilt. These are not luxuries. They are survival tools for the modern Stoic, because one day, if not already, you'll face a storm no one else can shelter you from. And on that day, your strength will not come from who sits beside you, but from who you've become inside. The soul, like the body, must be trained, and emotional resilience, it's not something you're born with. It's a discipline, a quiet decision made again and again. I will feel this, but it will not break me. As Pillar 6, adaptability, the courage to change. When life doesn't ask for permission, no one sends a warning when life changes. A spouse passes away, a child moves across the country, a neighborhood grows unfamiliar, the world upgrades its technology overnight, and you find yourself feeling like a stranger in your own life. After 60, change doesn't slow down, it accelerates. The danger isn't in the changes themselves, it's in how you respond. Some cling to what was, to the way things used to be. They resist, complain, or shut down. But others, those who quietly bend instead of break, they are the ones who stay strong. This is the Stoic secret, the power of adaptability. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, adapt yourself to the life you have been given, and truly love the people with whom destiny has surrounded you. That doesn't mean pretending everything's fine. It means adjusting your sails, even in the storm. Let's take the story of Frank, a 78-year-old man who had always valued face-to-face friendships. But over time, his friends passed away or moved. His days grew quieter, lonelier. At first, Frank withdrew. He said, "I don't belong in this world anymore." But one day he decided to try something different. He asked his grandson to teach him how to use video calls. Then he joined an online history forum. Eventually, he began hosting weekly virtual chess matches with people from all over the world. Frank didn't chase the past. He built a new future in unfamiliar territory. Adaptability is not just about learning to use an iPhone or signing up for a Zoom call. It's about remaining mentally flexible when the world no longer fits your expectations. It's about choosing growth over comfort, even when it feels awkward or intimidating. Because the greatest danger after 60 is not aging, it's becoming rigid. Stoicism teaches us to accept fate, amor fati, not as passive resignation, but as the art of making peace with reality. You don't need to like every change, but you must be willing to meet it with openness. Ask yourself, when was the last time you learned something new? When life interrupted your plans, did you adapt or did you freeze? When people around you changed, did you grow bitter or curious? Adaptability is also about identity. If you only see yourself as a parent, what happens when your children grow distant? If your worth is tied to a job, what happens after retirement? You must reintroduce yourself to yourself, again and again. You are not too old to start over. You're just too valuable to stay stuck. The Stoic way is not to resist the river, but to flow with it, with strength, wisdom, and serenity. So here is your practice. Each week, try one new thing. It can be small: learning a new recipe, attending a different cafe, trying out Tai Chi, or joining an online community. Each act of adaptation is like oiling the gears of your spirit. You stay sharp, you stay relevant, you stay alive. Because the future does not belong to the young, it belongs to the flexible. Family is precious, but let's be honest, love does not always mean reliability. Even those who care for you deeply may be absent when you need them most, not out of cruelty, but because life pulls everyone in different directions. You've probably lived through this already. A child who stops calling as often, a partner whose health begins to fade, friends who drift, promises that evaporate, and the quiet truth that, after a certain age, you are more alone with yourself than ever before. And that's not a tragedy, it's an invitation, because while the world around you may change, the 6 pillars you build within yourself, your financial stability, physical health, social circle, sense of purpose, emotional resilience, and adaptability, those are yours. No one can take them from you, and they are the difference between a life that depends on others and a life that depends on your own strength. Let's be clear, you're not too old to build these things, you're just wise enough now to see that no one else will build them for you. Financial stability means you no longer wait by the phone for help, it means freedom. Physical health means you get to wake up energized, not waiting for the next doctor's visit. A social circle means you don't sit alone in silence. You share laughter, stories, meaning. A sense of purpose gives you a reason to wake up that doesn't come from someone else's needs. Emotional resilience means you don't break when others disappoint or life stings. And adaptability? That's the fire inside, the decision to learn, to change, to grow even now. This is not about becoming selfish, it's about becoming self-led. You are not a side character in someone else's story. You are the author of your next chapter. And it starts now. You've heard the old saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. But here's what Stoicism adds to that. You are the cup. And your job is to stay full, not for others, but so you can stand tall in this world with dignity. So ask yourself, what small action will I take today to reinforce one of these pillars? Will I review my finances, take a walk, call a friend, or join a new group? Start writing, painting, or mentoring. Journal through a difficult emotion rather than pushing it down. One act is all it takes to begin building a foundation that no one, no matter how distant, distracted, or unavailable, can take away from you. Because this stage of life is not the end. It is your strongest beginning, but only if you choose to live it not by default, but by design. So, take a deep breath, stand tall, and start building your pillars. This is your time. make it yours. If this video reminded you that your life is still yours to build, then don't keep it to yourself. Like the video, share it with someone who might be silently waiting for a wake-up call, and leave a comment with this phrase, "I build my pillars, one day at a time." Tell us where you're watching from. We'd love to know who's walking this path with us. And if you're ready to keep strengthening your inner foundation, subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next video might just be the one that helps you take your next powerful step.